Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. And joining me as the co-host of the podcast, we have Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited for this episode. I've been watching the NFL draft and the NBA draft my entire life, the MLB draft since they've put that on. I play fantasy football and fantasy baseball every year and look forward to the draft every time. And yeah, I think this is about as close as in my lifetime as I can get to Mel Kiper Jr. So this is a dream come true for me. Doing a fantasy draft with you on a Easter Sunday. Happy Easter, everyone, by the way.
Happy Easter. And we're going to be doing this podcast on a day where, well, it's Easter, but also a day where we're going to be doing a WWE fantasy draft. I'm going to be Raw, Clark's going to be SmackDown, and we're going to be going side to side, and we're basically going to be simulating a WWE draft and giving what we think the pick should be, I guess. Here are the rules. I'll quickly throw up the rules before we get started. These are literally the rules which WWE used last time, and we'll be using the exact same rules just to, play it safe so it's not confusing or anything like that. All superstars will be eligible for the draft, including NXT stars. SmackDown will draft 30, while Raw will select 41. Since SmackDown is a 2-hour show and Raw is a 3-hour show, for every 2 picks SmackDown makes, Raw will receive 3. Tag teams will count as 1 pick unless me or Clark specifically want only 1 superstar from the team. Then, yeah, anybody we don't pick is undrafted. But, yeah, we're going to be doing probably about 5 rounds of this. We'll see how it goes. But, yeah, as always, Raw will start the draft, followed by SmackDown, followed by Raw again, followed by SmackDown, and then followed by Raw, closing off each round. But yeah, let's get right into it, Clark. And the first thing that I thought when I heard about this, this year's draft is that Raw, of course, always gets the first pick, and they always do it the exact same way. And the thing which I can't get my head around is how is Roman Reigns going to end up on SmackDown? So, for the sake of this, he's not. The first pick that I'm going to be choosing is Roman Reigns along with the Bloodline. That includes the Usos and Solo Sikoa, as well as my first pick in the draft. But now we'll head right to you, Clark. Who is SmackDown's first pick?
I love the pick that you just made, and as much as a feud between these two would be interesting, and I hate to, in our fantasy world here, take that off the table, but I'm going to take Gunther as well as Imperium for the first pick SmackDown selects. The Intercontinental title, I think he's restored the prestige. And then we get a really, really high-quality tag team at the same time. Simply numbers-wise, sort of matches the Bloodline, although you get the 1 extra as well as Paul Heyman. But
that's true.
I think it's the most logical pick for us over here at SmackDown, and I'm going with Gunther.
Well, you know what? That is a great pick, but I'm now going to steal one of your champions because I'm going to be taking the SmackDown Women's Champion Rhea Ripley along with Judgment Day. I know you're not a fan of that of them, Clark, but yes, I am going to be taking Rhea and the Judgment Day, and they will be staying on Monday Night Raw. But what about SmackDown? Who's your next pick?
Right. With our next pick, SmackDown selects the Unified Tag Team Champions, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. To add to the roster, might even put him in a feud with Imperium right out of the gates, since I just did that drafting wise. And we're taking Sami and Kevin. And it looks like in this scenario, it'd be quite some time until we got the Sami, Kevin, and Bloodline rematch. But we can do that down the road. And for now, we'll take the main event from night 1 of WrestleMania headed to Friday nights.
Wow, that is a hell of a pick. But as Raw's last pick in round 1, we are going to be taking the United States champion, Austin Theory, to ensure that that Raw continues to have a singles title on the brand. So that closes out round 1 of the draft, with the picks being the first pick for Raw being the Bloodline, the first pick for SmackDown being Imperium, Raw's second pick being Judgment Day, SmackDown's second pick being Owens and Zayn, and then to close out the round, Austin Theory as United States champion joins Raw. So, I mean, the most interesting thing here, when I look at it, is in real life when this actually happens, if Raw wants to keep the Judgment Day, then presumably the women's not tag titles, the women's Raw titles are going to have to be swapped around like they did a couple of years ago. What would be your thoughts on that, Clark?
That is an interesting point you make there. I don't know if they do it the same way this time. I hope it's not a straight trade like last time. That was while funny, it was an odd segment. Obviously it caused drama between Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, no less. Right?
Yeah. It did.
So that didn't work out so well. I think there's a way this time to make it make sense, and I don't know off the top of my head how I'd do it, but anything better than a trade, maybe slightly new belt design.
Maybe unify them even. Maybe do a match to unify them.
Maybe even do a match to unify them. If you're going to go that route, I would have no problem with that. But although I feel like that devalues the draft, and I'm having too much fun.
No, it does. It does devalue it. Yeah.
Yeah, and but yeah, that's the only problem I think with the brand specific titles.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where it was kind of smart when they did the Universal and the WWE Championship, because they could just flip and flop. When you have the SmackDown and Raw in the name, that complicates things in this scenario.
Way more. And that is why I do prefer titles which don't have the brand name in the name, like you just pointed out. But now let's head into round 2. And in round 2, Raw's first pick will be the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Lita and Becky Lynch. Following SmackDown, of course, getting Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in the first round on the male side. But Clark, who is SmackDown's first pick of the second round going to be?
Well, so I am going to take Bianca Belair just to make sure that we have a women's champion, although the way we just discussed, and I actually would have probably taken Bianca over Ripley anyway, so we ended up in the exact same scenario we would have in the first place, just because I thought the blue aesthetic when she was SmackDown Women's Champion was kind of some of her best work. It was awesome. Not that the blue or red makes a difference, but bring back the blue Bianca gear and let her carry that belt, maybe main event out of the gates the first SmackDown after the draft. I would love that. A women's title defense. Also pending who I draft later.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, one thing you just mentioned about the colors can actually change a superstar a lot, because to me, admittedly, Undertaker was on SmackDown when I started watching, but Undertaker, he just always seemed more powerful when he was on SmackDown with the blue colors around him. I don't know what it was. Same with Rey Mysterio as well. I just thought the blue just suited them more.
I agree. I would even say Kurt Angle and Brock too. I would add to that. Kurt Angle and Brock were SmackDown of that era, that early era. Those two, that rivalry with Big Show as well. Vintage SmackDown and the blue steel chairs. Bring back the blue steel chairs. I loved the red steel chair at Mania and the Hell in a Cell. I don't know why. It just felt kind of nostalgic, but the blue ones, like the old school blue steel chairs, it looks like a chair you'd see at like a, carnival or like a local comedy show or something. They're hilarious. I love it.
No, they are brilliant. But Raw's second pick of the second round of the draft will be Brock Lesnar. We're taking Brock Lesnar, keeping him on the red brand, despite the fact that you just said he looks a lot better with the blue. But what about you, Clark? Who are you going to take?
To answer that, I will take Seth freaking Rollins.
Oh, wow.
On SmackDown, and I think he might be Mr. Friday Night for me, my ace in the hole there. A lot of stuff we can do with Seth. I think it's time to get him back in the main event picture and get that figured out sooner rather than later.
Certainly. Raw's final pick of the third round is Cody Rhodes. So the potential for a rematch between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal Championship is possible going down the road. But that closes out round 2 with Raw picking Lita and Becky, Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes, while SmackDown takes Bianca Belair and Seth Rollins. Anybody you're really gutted about missing out on in that second round, Clark?
I thought I had a shot actually to get Lita and Becky as well to bolster the women's division, but you made the right pick at the right time. And obviously Brock Lesnar was my number one male superstar I was going to pick once the champions were off the board.
That's right. I was surprised you went Seth.
Yeah. Well, I was after you. So
actually, you are right. It was after
so
me.
yeah. You took him off the table for me, but yeah. I went Seth because I think he would be the second strongest pick. As great as Cody is, his versatility, and I think he fits. If it was my call, I would kind of bring SmackDown back to the SmackDown 6 era in a sense, and maybe focus things a little bit more wrestling centric. Not that I would change much about SmackDown, but I think Seth fits that mold nicely.
Yeah.
Like a little edge, like in ways, we've seen him battle a lot of the Raw roster already, Seth. And the only thing I think that is missed out on here is taking Seth away from Roman.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But for the next round, Raw's first pick is going to be Charlotte Flair. The 14th time or 12th time, it depends. WWE keep changing it up. They keep moving the goalposts, but we're going to be taking Charlotte Flair and bringing her to the red brand where she's going to be able to, feud with Rhea Ripley, continue that feud for the Raw Women's Championship this time, presuming they switch the SmackDown and Raw around. But what about you, Clark? Who are SmackDown going to take?
I am going to take, and this will shock you because you know my opinions on them, but I'm going to take a 3-for-1 special here and get Damage Control to bolster the women's division, break them up early, and reignite the Bayley and Bianca rivalry that I enjoyed so much from the Thunderdome era. It's been long enough. It's time to get Bayley back in the main event picture, and that's the next move. But I also get an awesome tag team in Dakota Kai and Io Sky, and also singles competitors that, I now have 4 in the women's division as opposed to only 2 there after missing out on the tag team champions in the previous round. I feel like it's just the most logical pick there. From a pure strength and roster standpoint. Yeah. And so I'm going with Damage Control.
What a pick. So now I'm going to come back and I'm going to take a faction. And I'm going to take the Brawling Brutes, Ridge Holland, Sheamus, and Butch to join Raw. And yeah, I mean, honestly, the Brawling Brutes, they've impressed the hell out of me on SmackDown. And on top of that, I really also do think that Sheamus has been having, his best moments of his career so far. And yes, Gunther, the Intercontinental Championship, is on SmackDown, so he won't necessarily be able to win that on Raw. I still would love to give Sheamus yet another United States Championship reign because I think he deserves it. Also on Raw, I'd rename Butch Pete Dunne. But yeah, that's a little bit of a side note. But yes, Raw takes the Brawling Brutes. But what about SmackDown, Clark?
Oh, you went Brawling Brutes? And so that includes Sheamus too?
It does.
Nah, you kind of forced my hand here because that was my next pick. That was my ace in the hole. I just picked my notes up off the floor too. You really, really undercut me on that one. That's brutal. But I'm just gonna spite pick Drew McIntyre for this one.
Damn.
And further bolster the men's side of our roster here. I do think he still fits that SmackDown 6 mold I'm trying to kind of recreate. And you can mix it up with anybody there. Well, the best quality wrestling we can get, And to get a slugger like him, a heavyweight like that, is exciting. But it is tough to lose out on the Brutes 3-for-1 special. That's a heck of a 3-piece.
Yeah.
In the words of George Masvidal.
And talking about 3-piece specials, we're going to be taking, Raw is going to be taking as its final pick from round 3. We're going to be taking the OC. AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson, because of course AJ Styles should be back very, very shortly. So that is that is our pick to round off round 3. So round 3, Raw took Charlotte Flair, Brawling Brute, and the OC, while SmackDown took Damage Control and Drew McIntyre. And I'm not going to lie to you, Clark, I am still gutted about missing out on Damage Control. What a pick from you.
It was out of left field, I know, but I thought, as much as the group isn't my favorite, the individual performers are so good, it just is going to bolster the division, and I think it's the right move there. Because you immediately have 3 potential title contenders for Bianca Belair to feud with, including one who had, I think Bianca and Bayley was some of both of their best work. Yeah. I loved their matches.
And one tag team who we've been talking about getting split up a lot recently, right, is the Street Profits. However, why just take one when you can take 2? So, to our Raw's first pick of round 4 is the Street Profits. That is who we are going to take to, add some real depth to our tag team division. But Clark, who is SmackDown going to take in response?
Is a really good pick. However, I'm going to bolster my heavyweight division, and I'm going to take Bobby Lashley.
Oh, wow.
For SmackDown to add to my sluggers category at the top of the card. Him, Gunther, McIntyre, and Rollins as kind of the big 4 faces of SmackDown. We're on our way to a new SmackDown 6, and we'll be bolstering the women's side here very soon as well.
Wow. And we got Anthony Manzano in the comments here saying, honestly, what he thinks is what's going to happen is that the Bianca and the Street Profits will both go to SmackDown and turn heel and join up together. I don't know. Personally, I'd not be that down seeing Montez Ford as a heel. I think he's just naturally a babyface. What do you think?
He's too good of a guy. I feel like he, before Will Smith wasn't fun anymore, he reminds me of just young Will Smith with the charisma. It's amazing. He's always, timing wise, funny on the microphone, entertaining, but can be serious. He's got the athleticism. He's got so much going for him. I have almost all good things to say about Montez Ford and the Street Profits in general. I can't see him I can't see myself rooting against him unless he really made me mad,
Yeah. And for the next pick for Raw, I've been having to think about this, right, over the last minute or so, and I decided, screw it, I'm going to go for it. Despite the fact that they've got a few injuries at the minute, I'm going to take as a faction the New Day. And just the tag team division on Raw is looking good, and I want to continue to improve it. But what about you, Clark? Who over SmackDown are you taking?
Oh, the New Day was such a good pick, and that's actually the route that I was going to go. Does that include Big E?
Yep, all 3.
Oh, that was in my notes. He's one step ahead of me. Give me a second. Let me look down further. Hang on. This is now kind of a panic pick, guys. First one that didn't go to plan.
Plan's gone out the window.
I am going to go with Asuka to bolster my women's division.
Wow.
Thank you for giving me the time there. I wanted to get that pick right, and that's key. Yeah, to add to that, the women's division, now we've got Bianca, Bayley, Asuka. That's 3 serious top of the card contenders. We also have Io Sky and Dakota Kai, who clearly with the women's tag team titles going over to Raw. I essentially have my newly formed women's SmackDown 6, starting with Bianca, Bayley, Damage Control. So Io Sky and Dakota. Now Asuka, one more to go, and we're in business.
And for Raw's final pick for round 4, I'm going with a bit of a wild card. I'm going for a call-up from NXT. But not only that, recently Braun Breaker has turned heel on NXT and is going after Carmelo Hayes again. Well, I think Breakker is going to get that NXT Championship back in the next couple of weeks. And I'm drafting to Monday Night Raw Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. Two people who I think have got a bright future in WWE. And I think the Raw brand will be a fantastic place to give Carmelo Hayes that spotlight and to bring Trick Williams up with him. It's a 2-for-1 special. And I do think that is the way to go and to keep them together. But yeah, what was your thoughts then on round 4, Clark?
I thought this was a fun round because this is kind of where things got interesting. There was a lot of predictable picks early, not super obvious, but this is where we finally saw some surprises, and I liked what we did on both sides of the draft for sure.
Now, moving on to round 5. I said we were only going to do 5 rounds. To be honest, this is so much fun. I think we're going to go a bit longer. It's too much fun.
Longer. Yeah, it's too much fun.
This is the point where I'm now out of my depth. I don't particularly know who to pick. My head is telling me one thing. My heart's telling me another. But when you mention heart, you have to mention the heart and soul of NXT, the Rebel Heart from back in the day. I'm going to keep on Monday Night Raw Johnny Gargano to build him up to be one of the next top things. And also, I do believe a proper feud between him and Austin Theory on the Red Brand could be money. What are your thoughts, Clark?
I think that's a very, very good pick, and I really like Johnny on Raw. He's super versatile as a performer. Bell to belly's great. It's a tough steal away from me. He would have been nice for that new SmackDown 6, but overall, I really, really like the pick. I love Johnny Gargano. But can you do me a favor before I make my pick? Can you bring back my men's division really quick so I don't mess this up?
You want me to read out the men's division? SmackDown so far have picked Imperium, Owens and Zayn, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley in the men's division.
Perfect. And to bolster that men's division, we will take an original SmackDown Sixer, the rated R superstar, Edge.
What a pick.
I can't SmackDown.
We've let him go this long. I
know. That's why I go, please, do you mind? I kind of had to I was questioning myself. That's why I asked if you could read me back the division.
There's always one in the draft, no matter what spot you're in, that someone gets slightly messed out. Wait, what? And that is certainly Edge in this draft. And that's really thrown me off, actually. But, wow. I mean, in response to that, I'm gonna have to choose someone big in response to that. So I'm going to go down. I'm gonna go back down to NXT, and I'm going to pick Roxanne Perez from NXT and actually Anthony Manzano just made the exact same pick in the comments, apart from I'm saying to roll. Roxanne Perez, top talent down in NXT, and I think she has a bright future on the main roster. So where better to start it than Monday Night Raw? Who's your next pick then, Clark?
A very good pick. I'm going to bolster my women's division once again and make this my last of my women's SmackDown 6 with an MMA legend, Ronda Rousey.
Oh, controversial one.
Controversial pick, but I'll take Ronda in this one. I think, she's still valuable to the brand. She's still as big of a name as you can ask for cross-promotionally. And with the 6 that I already have in that division, we're pretty stacked.
Oh, absolutely. I could not agree with you more. But you're putting the pressure on me now to make sure that the Raw Women's division stays just as good. So I am going to take Alexa Bliss, former Raw Women's Champion, and absolutely one in which that I think should be in the main event once again. Alexa Bliss, over the last couple of years since the entire Bray Wyatt storyline, has kind of fallen down the card a little bit. But yet that ends round 5 of the WWE Wrestling Republic Fantasy Draft. And we got a couple of comments here. Firstly, from Anthony Manzano, he is asking, Clark, since you are keeping Drew McIntyre on SmackDown, are you turning him heel? What do you think, Clark?
Ooh,
You
that
gonna
is
turn him
actually
heel?
a great question. I don't know about right away. But I think down the road, yes. Pending, um, I might put him in a feud with Seth out of the gates.
Okay.
I don't know exactly why, but I just feel like that'd be a fun pairing, fun match. And maybe Seth could sort of bring the heelish nature out of Drew by bugging him. Enough getting under his skin. That might be a route I would go. But I do like the
He
idea
also
for
is
sure.
giving you an idea. He is giving you an idea as well. He is saying, Clark, perhaps you should pair Gallus up with Drew McIntyre and call up Gallus. That could be something for the next round.
Quality call there.
Yeah, that absolutely is. Or maybe I'll just go ahead right now and spoil. I'm not going to spoil it, don't worry. But the first pick of round 6 for SmackDown, and this is another one he's quite far down the list now, but he's currently out injured. But I'm going to take him anyway, and that is Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is somebody who, a lot of fans like, a lot of fans don't like. It's a controversial one, but Monday Night Raw is where he should be. 3-hour program allows him to do a lot of creative things within the time slot, and I think is perfect for Bray. But what about you, Clark? Who is your first pick of the 6th round going to be for SmackDown?
I thought you were going to take my pick when you said injured. And then you went Bray, and you left him on the table for me. From St. Louis, Missouri, Randy Orton is SmackDown's next pick. Back on SmackDown, rated RKO reformation, maybe, to feud with Sammy and Kevin.
Wow.
Maybe.
That is
I don't know. Is that in the cards? One last time, a little rated RKO action. It's hard to top the storytelling of Sammy and Kevin versus the Usos. But man, if you want to have a tag team main event, rated RKO coming back as the heels and the bad guys they were back then to stare down Sammy and Kevin is not a bad idea.
It absolutely isn't. But for Raw's second pick, we're going Rey Mysterio. I mean, this is actually crazy to me. We've had 3 picks so far in round 6. We've got Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, and Rey Mysterio. How is this round 6?
We let 3 Hall of Famers go 6 rounds. It's my favorite part.
On earth. But
classic.
But yeah, Rey Mysterio. I'm not going to take the Latino World Order with him. Perhaps I'll draft them later. Who knows? But for now, I just want Rey. Because also, I'm not entirely sure if Rey Mysterio is officially part of the faction or not, which is why I didn't do that. I didn't want there to be any cheating or whatever like that. So I've just taken Rey. But we're going to head over now to SmackDown. SmackDown, who are you going to pick?
This is a tough pick. I was looking to go women's division here, but there's another pick as I was looking at my notes and scrolling here that I just can't quite pass up. Let me just make sure though that I am right on this. I am taking AJ Styles.
I already did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I drafted
okay, good.
in the OC.
Never mind then. LA Knight, even better. I want an initials guy.
Damn it!
I'll take LA Knight. I forgot you had AJ in the OC. I'm sorry. That's hilarious. It still led me to LA Knight. I wanted an initials guy. I needed someone that uses their initials, and LA Knight provides that to the brand. No question. Since you got AJ, I'm not going to be able to get that.
I was hoping for LA Knight in the next round. I'm
that's
gutted.
great. That is great.
But that is a hell of a pick for SmackDown now to close off the round. There's a couple of people who I could take on Raw, but I want somebody from the women's division. I know that. I want somebody from the women's division, and I want somebody who could be a champion in the women's division, continuing to keep it strong. So, for that reason, I am going to go with Raquel Rodriguez, somebody who a lot of people think could be the next big thing in the women's division in WWE. She's got a lot of praise backstage. A lot of people are big fans of her. But Clark, I realize I left the camera on you, but Clark,
You're good.
actually, we're done round 6. We're done round 6 now. We're all good.
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, LA Knight, Raquel Rodriguez. Whoo! What a round. And Anthony Manzano is saying Rey Mysterio is indeed the leader of the Latino World Order. So if that is official, because it's not listed as it on the internal roster, which is why I wasn't sure. But if that is the case, then damn, I missed out on the Latino World Order, which is absolutely gutting. But I have an idea about who I am going to take as Raw's first pick of the 7th round. And this is Raquel Rodriguez in real life, her boyfriend. And is another name who I actually thought, I can't believe they've gone this far, but I'm not just taking him. I'm taking him and his tag team partner. I'm taking Braun Strowman and Ricochet, a tag team who I think could be potentially new tag team champions. And considering SmackDown took the tag team champions, we may need to, create our own. Perhaps if the OC versus Braun and Ricochet, that would be a banger. Even the New Days, the Street Profits, our tag team division over at Monday Night Raw will be stacked. And this is just adding to it. But what about you, Clark? Who will SmackDown take?
I'm taking Liv Morgan to bolster the women's division. I think Liv has been overlooked. She kind of got messed around on that last storyline, but we'll have her bounce back and just makes this division even stronger. A lot of good bell-to-bell talent that I drafted here, and that's what I'm most excited about for sure.
That is a hell of a pick. Liv Morgan, another one who's gone quite deep into this draft.
Absolutely.
But next up, I'm also, once again, going to jump into the women's division. But I'm not just going to take a woman. I'm going to take a woman and a faction that is with her. And I am picking B-Fab with Hit Row. Hit Row, Hit Row, Hit Row, Hit Row.
Wow.
And if you didn't know, now you know. But what about you, Clark? Who is SmackDown going to take?
I am also going to stay in the women's division. I'm going to take Sonya Deville. With my next pick.
Oh, okay.
Versatile performer, good on the microphone, good in the ring. Has proven she can be an authority figure too if necessary. And yeah, I'm going to bring her back to SmackDown where I think she kind of blossomed last year quietly at times.
Oh, she did excellent. And Anthony Manzano is asking me in the comments, would you add a young guy from NXT to join the OC with AJ Gallows and Anderson? And who would that guy be? Well, that is a bit of a tough one, right? I'm actually going to go down to the NXT roster, which isn't on the internal rankings, which is slightly annoying. But I'm going to go to NXT, and for that, it's a tough one. It really is. So I'm going to pick, and this maybe doesn't answer your question, to be honest, Anthony, but I'm going to pick as Raw's final pick for round 7. Somebody who I think should have been called up a long, long time ago, and that is Tyler Bate. The fact that he's still in NXT kind of annoys me because I'm such a big fan of his, but that is, the case. But Tyler Bate will join Raw's picks of Braun and Ricochet and Hit Row in the 7th round of the WWE Wrestling Public Fantasy Draft, while in that round, SmackDown took Liv Morgan and Sonya Deville. Clark, how are you feeling about your roster so far?
I really, really like it. Thus far, it's funny how they've both played out. There's numerous picks I didn't expect to go the way that they have, but so far I like both rosters, and I think if this were real life and not a fantasy draft situation, I wouldn't have an issue with it as a fan of both shows. My own roster in particular, I try to really build around the in-ring products, given the the history SmackDown wise, and that was my goal. I don't know. Did you, I guess not to flip a question back on you, but did you have like a strategy coming in as far as how you wanted to build your side?
I did. I'm going to be honest. I kind of changed. Carmelo Hayes, I actually originally planned to call up in round 3, but as time went going and I kind of saw the direction it was going, I wanted to confirm that the roster had depth, which is why actually in round 3, picked the OC over Carmelo Hayes at that point. And then I missed out on Bobby Lashley and Oscar in round 4. but Street Profits and New Day again to improve that tag team division before I went into NXT and took Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. But yeah, I mean, I knew my plan right out of the gate was to get the Bloodline. I'm not going to lie, I was hoping to get Gunther as well. I was hoping you'd go right for Bianca Belair after I took the Bloodline. I was then going to take Gunther. I was expecting you then to take...
I'd be stuck with
Austin
Theory if that had
yeah.
happened. That's why I took Gunther.
No,
that was my whole strategy. Once I knew you were going Reigns, I had to take Gunther because I didn't want Theory.
Oh gosh, we got Melissa in the comments. Hello, Melissa, and she is saying she saw the vlog and it was funny as F. And yeah, I mean, if you guys haven't seen the Take It to the Table WrestleMania 39 vlog on the Wrestling Republic YouTube channel, make sure you watch it after the daily broadcast, as it was an absolute blast, and you get to witness me screaming. Why wouldn't you want to see that? Exactly. But no, it was a hell of a week. But yes, let's get in now into round 8 of the WWE draft. And you took Gunther, and I'm still kind of annoyed about that. So I'm going to take the next best thing and take Dragunov from NXT to help the SmackDown division. Not SmackDown, the Raw singles division. As yeah, I think he is somebody who I think should be called up quite soon. And he is somebody who is a hell of a talent. But Clark, who is SmackDown going to take?
I am going to go with maybe a controversial pick, and I don't even know if this is possible in real life, but this is our fantasy draft, so I'm doing it. I'm going to take Pat McAfee with next pick in the draft for commentary and as an in-ring competitor. I'm taking Pat.
Ooh, that's a wild one. I mean, I don't know if he's eligible, but
can I get Kittle with him too? I'm kidding.
I think,
but I'll take Pat. He's not eligible, but I will take Pat.
Oh, that is a hell of a good one. But yeah, I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna continue to drain NXT, and I'm going to take Tony D'Angelo and the family. I mean, it's basically just whatever. I forgot his name. I forgot the name of the guy who's with Tony now, but there used to be a fact. No, this is the wrong guy.
Yeah.
But Tony D'Angelo is who I'm going to take. What about you then? What about you going to take over at SmackDown, Clark?
I am going to finally start padding our tag division, which is a little bit thin compared to yours right now, with an NXT call-up. My first, the Creed Brothers. I'm going to call up the main roster. I think they'd be fun to feud with Imperium, Sammy and Kevin. I've got obviously the titles, but just another tag team that can work kind of with everybody. And I think that's what I'm going with. I like that one.
That certainly is a good move. Now, there's a couple of people who I'm thinking, should I take him? Should I take him? But at the end of the day, I'm going to take Karrion Kross on Raw and begin to rebuild him as the final pick of round 8, because Karrion Kross is somebody who's just not been that great on the main roster so far, but I still think he has potential in the mid-card. Karrion Kross versus Dragunov, that could be fantastic. You know, that could be a fantastic first feud for Dragunov. And that's something that I'd like to see. So before we go into the 9th round, and that's going to be the 9th round is the final round, what we're going to be doing. So before we get into that, I'm going to read out the entire rosters for both brands, right? So Clark, if you get any ideas or whatever, you can think of them during this. So far, the Raw has Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, Rhea Ripley, Judgment Day, Austin Theory, Lita and Becky, Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes, Charlotte Flair, Brawling Brute, The OC, Street Profits, The New Day, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams, Johnny Gargano, Roxanne Perez, Alexa Bliss, Bray Wyatt, Rey Mysterio, Ricardo Rodriguez, Braun and Ricochet, Hit Row, Tyler Bate, Dragunov, Tony D'Angelo and the family, and Karrion Kross, while SmackDown has Gunther, Dash Imperium, Owens and Zayn, Bianca Belair, Seth Rollins, Damage Control, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, Asuka, Edge, Ronda Rousey, Randy Orton, LA Knight, Liv Morgan, Sonya Deville, Pat McAfee, and the Creed Brothers. So, to kick off the 9th the final round of the Wrestling Republic Fantasy Draft, at least for the time being. Raw is going to take to feud with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. To continue the feud, we are going to take Matt Riddle, somebody who I'm actually kind of surprised has gone this far. Another one who's just slipped under the radar a little bit. I think, of course, him and Solo Sikoa are going to be getting into a bit of a feud. It looks like over on SmackDown and Raw over the next coming weeks. But once Roman Reigns comes back, heading into the King and Queen pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia, I believe Riddle versus Roman Reigns is the feud to do as a one-off victory for Roman Reigns to make sure he reaches 1,000 days as champion. But Clark, who are SmackDown going to take as their first pick of the final round of the WWE?
You ruined my big plan. I had needed Riddle to have Orton reunite with Edge for my Rated RKO run. I needed Orton to turn on Riddle.
Rated RK Bro.
Rated RK Bro now we're at, but I will, to bolster my tag team division, I'm going to take Otis and Chad Gable. I think they're awesome, and they've been out there for a while. You know, I think the top of our card right now, until we get permission from obviously corporate at WWE to introduce a new world title. I think we're going to make the tag team titles and Sami and Kevin kind of our main event for the time being right now. But yeah, as soon as corporate lets us bring in that new title, we're going to go with either Winged Eagle or one of the old school cool ones, and that'll be the move, right? I mean, that's my plan.
That is a great shout that you had. And we're now getting into the nitty and gritty about it all, you know, and I think there's a few people who I could take. But one thing which Raw, as I'm looking at this now, is kind of missing is a talk show. So I'm going to keep on Monday Night Raw the host of WrestleMania, The Miz. He's somebody who's consistently reliable and entertaining. And yeah, I think that is a good idea. And someone just reliable for the Raw roster who can take a few losses here and there as well. But what about you, Clark, for your final pick for SmackDown? Out of the entire roster, which is
my
left,
pick. But I'll tell you what, that leaves me with only one choice, and that's one last NXT call-up.
Wow.
Everyone knows who I'm taking here. It's Nikita Lyons.
Calling
up Nikita. It's time. I'm ready for it. Maybe have her feud with Bayley out of the gates. That might be fun. I mean, there's plenty of choices. But yep, for my final pick, Nikita Lyons. I'm excited about it. I think I have a pretty balanced roster. It's tough with the format, with the losing a pick to Raw. It totally makes sense, obviously, with the 3-hour versus 2-hour format. But I think given only 2 picks per round, I stacked it as best I could with stars, and top to bottom, the cards should look good.
To be honest, depending on when the actual draft is, because we don't know yet when the draft is. We might actually have time to do another one of these and switch the roles. Where I be SmackDown, you be Raw. That could be
fun too. Yeah, absolutely.
But Raw's final pick of round 9 is, drum roll, please. Oh, Candice LeRae. I'm taking Candice because, of course, we've already got
just good
Johnny
business.
Gargano.
She's got to travel with Johnny.
Yeah, good business, keeps morale high, and also a great competitor to just further improve the women's division. So, to finish it off, I'll quickly read out both of our lists. Raw's got the Bloodline, Judgment Day, Austin Theory, Lita and Becky, Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes, Charlotte Flair, Braun and Bruce, the OC, Street Profits, The New Day, Hayes and Trick Williams, Johnny Gargano, Roxanne Perez, Alexa Bliss, Bray Wyatt, Rey Mysterio, Carl Rodriguez, Braun and Ricochet, Hit Row, Tyler Bate, Dragunov, Tony D'Angelo, Karrion Kross, Riddle, The Miz, and Candice LeRae. Where SmackDown has Gunther with Imperium, Owens and Zayn, Bianca Belair, Seth Rollins, Damage Control, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, Oscar, Edge, Ronda Rousey, Randy Orton, LA Knight, Liv Morgan, Sonya Deville, Pat McAfee, Creed Brothers, Otis and Chad Gable, and Nikita Lyons. But that brings us to the end of the show, guys. It's been Sunday Fun Day. It's been Wrestling Republic's Fantasy WWE Draft, and it has been a banger of an episode. We'll be back here same time tomorrow for Mailbag Monday. It'll be me and Chaos, I believe. Maybe a few others too. We'll have to wait and find out. But thank you for watching. Please leave a thumbs up. And thank you, Clark, for joining me here today. Being a hell of an episode. And Anthony Manzano as well, quickly saying here that he thinks you should have just called up Diamond Mine as a whole, Clark. And also saying that he doesn't think Carmelo Hayes.
That's kind of what I meant, actually. I don't know why I didn't say Diamond Mine. I should have called them all up.
But thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.